Erica here, and today I'm going to do the classics tag. I was not tagged. It's the 27th day of VEDA. I am so tired of getting books off of my shelf to film videos and then having to put them back. So I'm going to film a couple of tags today to kind of wrap up the month. And I know I said I didn't want to do a ton for VEDA, but I don't think I have. And like literally, I cannot make myself take books off my bookshelf anymore. So I'm sorry. But I was not tagged in this. I will link the original post down below. Okay, let's get started. Question 1 is an overhyped classic you didn't like. I'm not super picky when it comes to classics as far as liking them and not liking them. Even if I don't like a classic, I can usually find some merit in it. So I'm gonna go for this one with Tess of the D'Urbervilles because I wasn't a huge fan and it took me like 8 months to read it. I may try Far from the Maddening crowd since the movie's coming out. But I don't know if Thomas Hardy and I are going to be friends. Question 2 is your favorite time period to read about. I've seen a lot of people answer this with the Victorian era, and while I do like reading about the Victorian era, I also like reading books set in the US from about 1900 to about 1930. And not necessarily like books centered around like the Jazz Age and flappers and all of that, but I like books set in the Depression era, which is depressing. Puns. Not really. And like Wharton and Willa Cather and even F. Scott Fitzgerald and Hemingway, like the first half of the 20th century probably brought out a lot of my favorite authors, and therefore I'm going to go with that. Favorite fairy tale? I don't know that I have a favorite fairy tale. I haven't read a ton of classic fairy tales. I do have Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales, but I haven't read them all yet, and it's something I want to return to shortly. So I'll come back at you with an answer to that question someday. Next question is, what is the most embarrassed... What is the most embarrassed classic you haven't read yet? So what's the classic that you're most embarrassed about not having read yet? I don't think you should be embarrassed for not having read something yet just because people say you should, because that's silly, and you've probably read books that they haven't, and shame on them. So, I'm going to say Crime and Punishment just because I've owned it for about 6 years. It's my longest owned book right now, and I haven't read it yet. So I'm going to go with Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. Next one is top 5 classics you would like to read soon. I would like to read The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte because I've read Jane Eyre and I've read Wuthering Heights, so it's time to give Anne a go. I would like to read Moby Dick by Herman Melville, and I've heard murmurings of a read-along happening for that summer, which I hope is still on because there's no way I'm going to get through that on my own. I just purchased and so would really like to read the collected stories of Chekhov, who's a classic Russian author who I've never read before. Oh, and also I need to read a Portrait of a Lady soon because I feel like if somebody does not read that book and share in the glory of it with Stephen from Steve Reads Books, he might spontaneously combust because he loves it so much. So I have to read that soon. And on that note, speaking of Stephen and Henry James, I'm going Edith Wharton, The House of Mirth is another one I really need to go around to. Hi. Hi, you want to say hi? You need it. Hi. I just got home from work and my cats really need attention and she keeps rubbing all up on me. Look how happy she is. Say hi. Hi. Okay. The next question is favorite book or series based on a classic. I don't know if I have one. I don't read a lot of retellings. The only thing that's coming to mind right now is American Innovations, which is a short story collection that was released recently by Rivka Galchen, and that's because all of her short stories are kind of plays on classic short stories, but I don't think I can answer this question. Next one is favorite movie version or TV series based on a classic. I don't watch a lot of movie adaptations for classics. I'm going to go with the Muppets version of A Christmas Carol because I love it so much at Christmas time. It's my favorite. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Next one is worst classic adaptation. And I, again, don't watch that many adaptations. I'm not like huge into the BBC series or anything. But I will say that Wuthering Heights is one of my favorite books. And I really did not like the miniseries for that book. I should probably rewatch it because it's been a while. But I wasn't a huge fan. Next one is favorite edition that you'd like to collect more classics from. And I am going to go with the Penguin cloth-bound editions, which I know a lot of people are. But I just purchased my first few in the last couple of months, and I've read from them, and the paper is so nice. Seriously, all books need to be made out of that paper. It's like the best paper. I love the paper. Also, they're pretty. And they're hardbacks, and they don't have just jackets. And they have silk bookmarks. Yep. And the last question is a underhyped classic you would recommend to everyone, and I have two for that. One is Don Quixote, which I talked about in my favorite classics video, which I will link below, so you can hear more about why you need to read Don Quixote. And the other is The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Dumas, because Victor Hugo. They're all French, right? All right. Anyway, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, nobody ever talks about that book. They all talk about Les Mis, and Les Mis is wonderful too, but The Hunchback is really good. And then you can watch the Disney movie and listen to the soundtrack and dance. I might tag some people later. If I do, I'll put it in the down bar, so look out for that. And that's all. Bye!